Recently, a very clear pattern's been occurring where there are brilliant entrepreneurial people without much prior startup or business experience are identifying opportunities for innovation, for software, and then they're vibe coding products using tools like Replit, Lovable, etc. to go and start building those solutions. And then they're coming to different teams, including our own, and they're looking for help with building out those software products. They might be mobile apps, they might be web applications. They're in all different types of industries, ranging from solving big major medical problems and pharmaceutical problems in India through to IT tech support in the US and a whole range of things in between. And something that I'm repeatedly saying, and I thought I'd make a video on, is what to do at the beginning before you go and pay a technical team, $10, $20, $30,000 or more to go and build your tech. Because a lot of people end up in that position where they've got this idea, maybe they've been using these AI coding tools to get it to a certain point, or maybe they've just got the idea and they're trying to figure out how do we start to move this forwards. And actually the first step is not going to be build the tech. What I've been recommending repeatedly is go and look at what level of validation can you go and get before you even write a line of code on your idea. Because you want to de-risk this as much as possible for yourself, for potential investors, for anyone who's going to be involved in your startup. Now, what does that look like, Tim? Well, imagine that, say, you're looking to build some kind of software product that is for, let's say, finding a great doctor, let's say. Actually, let me use the example of you have a very particular medical condition, let's say diabetes, and you're looking for a reliable source of information. I was talking with a brilliant gentleman from Germany who's looking to create a very similar application to what I'm describing, different medical condition, same idea. And he was looking at, okay, well, I've noticed that there's not really any good single source of information about this particular disease. I've spoken with other doctors about it, and they all say the same thing. And my patients are always asking me, where can I learn more about this? And the reality is there's not really any good sources of solid, medically reliable data. And so he wants to solve that. I'm like, fantastic. Building what you're looking for is it's going to be thousands and thousands of dollars, which is reasonable if you feel very clear on how it is that you're going to monetize and or make the investment worthwhile. Because he was saying to me, Tim, I cannot afford to spend $15,000 or $20,000 building something like this if it can't pay for itself. And it's going to be a massive improvement in medical care and really help a lot of families who are suffering from this particular disease. But it needs to pay for itself, which in my mind is quintessential capitalism, where you can do something that's tremendously valuable, but you need to find a way for it to be viable to sustain itself. Otherwise, it's just not going to be existing for long. And so I was like, well, maybe instead of going and building this, why don't you go and talk to many of those doctors you've already been talking to and understand what is the yes if. What I mean by the yes if is you want to understand what would it take for them to want to use this platform? What are the things where when you say, will you use it? And they say, yes, if it does X, it does Y, it does Z. And the yes ifs are the really valuable things. There's always going to be a few people who say no, or maybe they say, yeah, sure, Tim. And then, they're just giving you a yes that actually means a no, but they want to be polite or something. But if you can really get into the yes ifs, you understand what genuinely would make it like a hell yes, like an obvious yes for them. If you can get those, and if you can find a pattern across multiple people, and you can say, okay, I've spoken to 20 doctors, 30 doctors, 40, 50 doctors who all say, yes, if it can do this, if we can have a control or say or oversight on the actual information that it's dispensing and it's drawing the information from, that would be a really valuable thing for us and for our patients. It would improve patient care. It would be amazing, so long as it can do X, Y, and Z. That is exactly what we need to go and then, for example, make a case to investors, or even just justify spending our own money to go and build it. Because what we're doing is we're de-risking the overall idea because we're already starting to get validation on the idea. And so just like, if you're making a bet on something, if you think it is maybe good, but you don't have any understanding and that there's no further investigation to understand, is it likely or is it unlikely and what are the odds? It's maybe not a good bet for you to take. But for everything that we can do, where we can quickly gather more information, better understand, is this something where there's a lot of demand? Is this something that people are really going to want to use and find valuable and be willing to pay for? That now gives us more validation on our idea. And it's not perfect, it's not foolproof. Questions can be wrong, data can be misleading, but the more we can do this or something like this, it's only going to put you in a better position. Like yesterday, I was talking with a brilliant founder with a background in clinical psychology, and she's got a 700-person beta testing group who are currently testing her mobile application. And so she's out, she's raising her second round of investment, and she's such an easier conversation with investors because she's already got the product somewhat built and it's being built and she needs more money to finish building it. But she's already got 700 people who have given her thousands of pieces of feedback and iterations, such that if you imagine actually having this conversation with investors and you say, on the one hand, this is my idea. And on the other hand, I've got 700 people who've been weekly giving us feedback for the last 30 weeks. We've been beta for nearly a year. And now we have this amazing product. We need to finish it off and we need capital for launch. Who's going to be the better group? It's probably going to be person A. I'm joking, person B. Because they've got such more certainty. Right? There's a clearer path to making money. It's probably just overall a better chance. And so that's the kind of thinking you want to be doing before you go and put out a product into market. Think about, how can I de-risk this? How can I build more certainty? How can I refine my hypothesis over time in order to create something absolutely incredible? If you want to have a conversation about anything that you're thinking about, any ideas that you have, feel free to go to the link in the description below, fill in the contact form, we can discuss. Happy to help out however I can.